Hi students, welcome to the thesis statement workshop. I'm hoping that by viewing this video that afterwards you'll feel more comfortable with thesis statements, of knowing what they are, where to put them, and how to craft them to help you to have a most effective essay. I know sometimes the term thesis statement can produce a lot of stress, but I'm hoping that to help you to alleviate some of that stress today by having more understanding of thesis statements and finding out they can actually be kind of fun. English teacher fun maybe, but but fun all the same. So what is a thesis statement? So in a nutshell, a thesis statement is a one sentence, really at the beginning of your essay, often usually in the first paragraph, that tells what your essay is about. That it really controls the subject matter of the whole essay. And so I even have developed a formula for those of you that like math. I've developed a formula that your thesis statement equals topic plus idea. So topic plus idea equals thesis. So that means your thesis statement, again, it's one sentence, that it has to have your stated topic plus your idea about your topic. So for example, if you had, I'm referring to a book I really like called Steps to Writing Well, and they have some good examples and things here. So I wanted to give this example that it says here, if you were writing about the idea of 21, the age of 21 being the legal age at which people can drink alcohol, right? If you had this thesis, here's a sample thesis statement on that. To reduce the number of highway fatalities, our country needs to enforce the national law that designates 21 as the legal minimum age to purchase and consume alcohol. So in that thesis statement, what's the topic? I'm going to read it one more time. You have to use your auditory skills here, okay? Ready? It says to reduce the number of highway fatalities, our country needs to enforce the national law that designates 21 as the legal minimum age to purchase and consume alcohol. So what's the topic? The topic is the age at which you can purchase or consume alcohol, and they say that in the sentence. That's the topic, right? What is this person's idea about that topic? Well, they say it, right? They say that their idea is that we should enforce the law, so that, in this case, they have a particular focus on reducing highway fatalities. But they say very clearly that the law should be enforced, right? So could someone disagree with that? Sure, probably a lot of folks under 21, right? So that's good, because someone should be able to disagree with your thesis. That's a good check, because it's an idea, right? So it's not my marker is acting weird. I just tested it before I started this and it was working fine. All right, so the idea can also be thought of as your opinion. So if someone could disagree with it, that's good, because it means it's an idea, right? So the topic in this case was the age at which we can purchase or consume alcohol, which in this country is 21, and this person's idea is that law should be enforced to reduce highway fatalities, all right? So by the same token, I'm going to give equal time to different positions here, but I'm going to give you another example of that. This says the legal minimum age for purchasing alcohol should be 18 rather than 21. Now that is crafted much differently, but it's still an effective thesis statement. So what is the topic in that case? Well, the topic is still the age at which in this country that we have for purchasing and consuming alcohol. That's the topic, but this person has a different idea. This person thinks 18 should be the age, right? They don't say why. That's okay. There are different ways to craft this. They're just boom, straightforward. They give their topic, they give the idea, and then they will develop their reasons in the essay, all right? So there are different ways to craft an effective thesis statement. But no matter how you craft it, you need to have your topic plus your idea all in one sentence, okay? And I mentioned that it should go at the beginning of your essay. Well, where is a good question to ask. Usually it's in the first paragraph. It's usually in the first paragraph. There might be some circumstances if you are writing a long paper for English or even history where you have to give a lot of background first that the reader needs to know. Maybe you're writing a history paper on the Revolutionary War and you need to give a lot of background or something about about that time period. Perhaps the thesis statement might go in your second paragraph, but it's rare. In all the essays I've written, I can only think of one circumstance that I did that, and it was a pretty long paper, like 12 pages or something like that, and then there was that background issue, but normally it would still be in the first paragraph. Okay, so then it's in the first paragraph. Where do I stick that thing in? So normally you would want to give a little background for the reader in most cases. That you would give a little background and explain your idea a little bit and wind into the thesis. Very often it's the last sentence in the first paragraph. Not always. There are circumstances that it could be a little before that. There are even circumstances it could be, right from the beginning of the first paragraph, but that's more unique. It's very often the last sentence in that first paragraph, because often, just to help your reader have understanding, they often need to have the issue explained to them, or the background of what you're talking about. If it's a narrative essay, explained to them, and then winding into that thesis. So that is often the case. So again, it's the main idea of the whole essay. So the main idea is in that sentence. So that means that everything else in the essay has to support that one main idea. So you might think, wow, do I write the whole paper first and then try to figure out what my thesis statement is? I don't think so. that honestly sounds very hard and confusing. I think it sounds stressful for the writer, and it sounds a little confusing for the reader. You should know, really, before you start writing your paper, you should have what is called a working thesis. I hope you can see this writing here on the camera. A working thesis. So does that just mean, okay, I need a thesis that works? Well, it could mean that, but not in this case. It means you need to have a thesis statement that you can work with. It does not have to be perfect. You just write down, say, let's go back to that issue of the age of drinking alcohol. Let's say you're writing a persuasive essay on that, and you decide how your opinion is that either the law should be more strictly enforced, or we should have it as this person wanted it at age 18. Whatever, maybe something different than either of those. But you have your idea, right? So you should just jot down, okay, here is my idea, and I know what my topic is, because that's usually, you do know what your topic is. If you have a choice of topics, you should narrow it down. So if you just have a basic sentence that has your topic and idea, even if it's not perfect, that can be your working thesis. The working aspect just means that it is what you are working with, but it can change. You have something to work with, so you know what direction the paper is going in, and that can be a lot less stressful for you writing the paper. So you have to have that direction, or your paper is tending to sort of go everywhere. And the thing is, we don't need to be a perfectionist about just getting the ideas down, because you put it down, and then you just know what you're working with, right? So, and at first, it's just you that's going to see that working thesis, right? Until it is put in the paper, and then you're turning it in, right? But it's not wall-to-wall carpeting, right? So you don't like it, you decide, you look at it for a while and you try to work with it. I don't like this. This isn't really what I think, or I don't really want to say this. Rip it up and start over. It's okay. It's a working thesis. Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something to work with. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges with thesis statements, is sometimes we just have to get off of dead center. And we need to just have a working thesis, have something to work with, see if that works for you, right? And so just kind of get something to start with on that. And then just know that everything in the essay, again, has to support that. So that's why you need that working thesis. You need to know what direction you're going in. For example, if you are going to go get on the freeway, and you would need to know what direction you're going to. Where are you going today? If you're like, I'm headed to San Francisco today. Well, then you need to get on the freeway that goes in that direction, right? I mean, like if you don't know where you're going, you're likely to just be driving around aimlessly. If somebody is with you in the car, they're going to be really confused about why you're just driving aimlessly. You don't want to do that in your paper. Super confusing for your reader. And I don't know about you, but I've had papers that I started working on that I felt like I was driving aimlessly, right? It's just like, okay, what's happening here? That's very stressful. Don't do that to yourself, and don't do that to your reader, because it's very confusing for the reader. So that's why you need that working thesis. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it just needs to be your topic. And just jot down your topic. Even if you're like, I know what the topic is, I don't need to write it down. No, you do. Write it down for you. Write down the topic, write down your idea about your topic, and then put it together in a sentence. You have a working thesis, right? So you can work with it. And again, you decide that's not your thesis statement, that's not for you today. Just rip it up, start again, right? Till you have one that you like, all right? So, and again, everything in the essay has to support the thesis statement. So sometimes it's very easy to get mixed up between thesis statement, which is the main idea sentence for the whole essay, and topic sentences. Sometimes we want to get those two kind of mixed up because they both start with T, unfortunately, right? So, but the thesis statement, that's the main idea for the whole essay. So your topic sentences, that's the little main idea for the paragraph, which supports the thesis statement. So it might be a reason that you think what you think in your thesis. It might be a smaller aspect, a category even of the larger thesis statement, but the topic sentences are the main idea for the paragraphs. Every paragraph will get that topic sentence, and all the topic sentences, everything in the whole essay has to support the thesis, right? So again, thesis is running the show. So I'm going to give you an example I have written down here. Clifford. You're like, who's Clifford? What's that all about? And how does he connect with thesis statements? So I'm going to tell you that now. So how many of you have ever seen the TV show? It's on PBS Kids. That's called Clifford the Big Red Dog. Or read the books. When I was a kid, I read the books. It was before, I don't remember it being a TV show when I was a kid. But at any rate, so if you recall that from your childhood, if you have children in your family, you might have seen Clifford the Big Red Dog on PBS or read the books, right? So for those of you that are like, I never heard of that. What's Clifford? What's that about? He's a very large, giant dog, right? And he has an owner named Emily. He's a little kid, and they have their other little children that are friends, and it's all these stories about, Clifford's adventures and such, right? Being a very large dog. Okay. So in the show, we're talking about the PBS show, right? They'll have a main idea, sort of a theme for the episode, and they'll call it Clifford's Big Idea of the Day, right? Clifford's Big Idea of the Day. And say, for example, Clifford's Big Idea of the Day is like sharing, right? Then the different episodes will be different aspects of sharing. Might be sharing with your friends in one episode. Might be sharing with your family in another episode, right? But it will all relate and connect to the big idea, Clifford's Big Idea of the Day, right? So how does this connect with thesis statements? In a couple ways. So your thesis statement is your big idea of the paper. It's your big idea, and everything else in the paragraph has to connect with that, has to support that, has to be an aspect of that. So just like Clifford and his big idea of the day, all the episodes of that day have to connect to sharing or whatever it is, right? your big idea of the paper, your body paragraphs have to connect it, all right? And I also like to think of it this way. The thesis statement is your big dog idea. It is your big dog idea for the whole paper, right? So it's your big idea, right? So isn't it fun to have a big idea? So this is where it can be fun. So and again, we don't need to stress ourselves out about this. We can have fun with this, and we can say, this is my working thesis. We could say, I hate this thesis. It's not for me anymore. Throw it away and start anew. Have a new working thesis, right? You do need to work this out before you turn this in, but this is where it can be kind of fun. But it helps you that way as the paper starts really coming together, because you know your topic and you've reminded yourself of your focus topic. You know what your idea is about your topic. This is so key, because if you're not sure, it's going to be, again, confusing. So you might do a brainstorm before to get clear on your idea, right? So you know your topic, you know your idea, and now you know, once you're crafting those topic sentences, those reasons of why you think that way, or the smaller aspects, it all starts flowing to the thesis statement, right? If you keep the focus on your thesis statement, you also know what examples to include. If you have an example, but it doesn't really support your thesis, it doesn't connect to it directly, you can't do that, right? You can't include it. So it's a good idea as you're writing your paper that you want to keep making sure that your examples, everything in the paper, that it does connect to the thesis, right? So that's a good check. Not as you're drafting the paper, you'll drive yourself crazy. Just get your ideas down, but then after the fact, go back over the paper, check that thesis again, and then make sure that everything in the paper connects to the thesis. All right, so I wanted to just go over kind of a couple of things again, and that again, the thesis statement is your main idea of the whole essay, and it contains your topic and your idea. Both parts are essential, and it's usually in paragraph 1, very often at the end of paragraph 1. And everything in the essay must support the thesis. You can develop a working thesis, and in fact you should, by just crafting that topic and idea, and that gives you something to work with, and it lets you know the direction your paper is going, so it's not, you're not swimming all over the place in circles, right? And again, it's your big idea. It's your big dog idea. Right? All right. So then I'm just going to go over a couple of things of problems to avoid in thesis statements. So I'm going to go to my favorite book here for this. 1 second till I find that page for the favorite book.